We are back on MorningLine. Dr. Friday Burke, are you there? Yeah, oh, she's moving. It was interesting. The technology of all this, and you were frozen there for a second. It was just like you were staring at me. I'm like, are you there? Are you okay? We apologize for that technical snafu, but we're back up and she can hear us, and we'll roll with it. We've got more calls. Let's go next to Kathy. Kathy, good morning. Hi, Kathy. What's your question?
Yes, I filed my taxes, and I've already got my tax returns back, but I haven't got my stimulus check. But I do my taxes. I get a paper check back in the post office box. Will I get my stimulus check in my post office box?
You will. It'll be the exact same place, same box, everything. And they have started mailing out checks. So they started mailing checks later than they did the direct deposits, but they have started mailing checks. So the good news is, they have the right address and the right information. So just it should be coming soon. So yes, you're in the right system and you've done everything correctly. Yes, ma'am.
And here's a comment from Lisa. It's the other way around. She says, we've received our stimulus check, but still have not received our tax return. So it could come either way, right?
Well, yeah, because their stimulus could have been based on their 2018s, right? Or, they may have been on the earlier side of things versus their refund is based on. And I will tell you, we have had, normally it's 21 days or less for direct deposits. We've had several cases where we sent them in early March and they've just received them May 15th or thereabouts. So it was more like 2 months. I mean, so there was a delay, but we do know the IRS was closed, or I think they manpowered down. I don't know what the proper term is, but they didn't have it fully open. So they may have been doing things a little slower there as well. But again, we have had several cases where they seem to just be getting their stimulus, and we sent them back in early March. And I'm not stimulus, their refund, excuse me.
Gotcha. All right, let's go. We have another caller. There's a caller on line 5. Can you hear me, caller?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, yeah. What's your question, sir?
Yes, I'm calling because I filed my unemployment claim on the 19th of April. Here it is, May 21st. And upon checking the status, it says status in review. And I called the unemployment office, and they're unable to give me a status.
And you've already been certified. I mean, you qualify for unemployment based on your background, correct? I mean, that's accurate. So it's just a matter of getting the check.
Yes, sir. I done received the monetary determination form.
Okay. What do you recommend? I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, I understand if they're still sorting through and there's some question about your employment history, but once you've been certified, I don't get that. Okay, that's where I'm hesitant to cut Department of Labor any slack simply because they're overwrought. When you're approved, get it going.
Well, I know from the other side, as an employer and dealing with more than 300 companies that have employees, we're still getting determination letters in the mail now, or via, basically in the mail, that we still have to submit because people were said that they were let go. The term that several people said they were fired when they were using the term. Instead of saying laid off, lack of work, they used the word fired, which then has to come back to us as employers to get the reason for the firing, because not everyone that's fired qualifies for unemployment. Again, not saying in this particular gentleman's situation, it sounds like he's already went through all that. He knows he's been certified. They are saying 3 to 4 weeks is the average. That is the average. So you and I both have talked to people that are doubled that and still haven't succeeded. But in many of those cases, I think when people were filling out the original applications, they were saying, because the person basically said, well, we're closing the doors, they marked fired. And that requires a boss or someone in our position to go back through that paperwork. And keep in mind, some of these businesses are closed. They're not even getting the mail.
Right.
So those forms are sitting dead lettered in places. So I have a feeling the unemployment office is now having to make judgments, trying to get, because they can't certify that it was a legitimate layoff if they said fired, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and we have to remind folks when it comes to unemployment, all right, that's there for a couple of things. That you do not get unemployment if you quit your job, okay? You do not get unemployment because you're fired because you were doing a lousy job. You get unemployment when you've been laid off, no fault of your own, and it's a tough situation. All right, and also you lose your unemployment if your job comes back and you refuse to go back because in this situation, some have commented that they fear going back to job because of their safety, and they think they could have COVID exposure. And that's a legit fear for some. But the way you and I both understand it, if they don't go back when their job is open again, they stand to lose their unemployment, both the state and federal.
Correct. Initially, it was only going to be the state. My understanding now is the federal is going to get on board with that. And more employers, because people like myself are pushing employers to go onto the Tennessee website and list the people that they have offered jobs to. Part of it is we've received money, PPP or payroll protection loans, to give those jobs back to those employees. So if that employee doesn't feel safe, I'm not saying you should. I mean, you've got to do your own personal situation. But as an employer, if you're offering the same job, and the biggest reason we're getting back is I'm getting more money on unemployment than I'm getting from you, that is not an excuse just because you're making more money on unemployment.
And that was a quirky little thing there. That, as a matter of fact, some people actually were, between federal and the state, making more money than they were making on the actual job. So that's something that came about. Let's see. I was looking at a couple of these comments here, and again, people just joining us as they do throughout a program and hop in. And just want to reiterate, the Dr. Friday and I have both said that there is no second stimulus check on the horizon right now. There just isn't. It's interesting too, by the way, when they call it stimulus, Dr. Friday, it is, you know, you say stimulus like the money's going to go out and it's going to be spent in the economy. I think a lot of people, at least on Facebook that I'm seeing here, we're spending it on things like rent, okay? I mean, I don't know how much of that was going out and being spent, and let's face it, a lot of stores and shops were closed anyway, but that's aside from the point. People needed this money, but right now the answer to all those questions, will there be a stimulus check? There is not one on the horizon right now. Could something change? Potentially. So I would never say never, but right now there is nothing in the pipeline that means there's going to be a stimulus check coming anytime soon, a second one.
Right. You're 100% correct. I think people are getting confused because, you know, the House has passed something that says that there could be up to $6,000 per household and all of this, and they're hearing those numbers and those things, but the Senate's not taking that bill up at this moment. So there's not going to be any movement. There's
no agreement among the politicians right now. Let's go next to Bobby. Bobby, good morning. What's your question, Bobby?
Yes, my question for Dr. Friday is, my tax returns in 2019 were over the limit, over $99,000. Retired in 2020, and the income tax reporting earnings this year would be far less than that. So I was just wondering how will there be in considerations for a stimulus check in that unique situation?
No, unfortunately, my understanding, and again, Bobby, they seem to be changing some of the rules as we speak. You know, there's a lot of things that they hadn't preempted, but the idea was 2019 was going to be the year that they used as the year of qualification. So there are people that had the same situation, but from 18 to 19. I've had some people that were working full time in 18, retired in 19, so they did qualify. But unfortunately, Bobby, you're in my shoes. Some people will not qualify for the stimulus. I've had people calling and say, is everyone qualified? No, there are limitations. And thanks for bringing that up, because I think people forget that individuals making 75 to 99 will have a portion or zero at 99 individuals. Married people 150 to about 198, it zeroes out. So if you're making more than that money, you will not receive any stimulus after the top qualification. Sorry about that, Bobby.
Good question, though. Lawanda and some others, again, asked me to give out that 800 number. There's a new one set up by the IRS where you can call. You may still be on hold for a while, but this is a new one to answer some of the very questions we're doing here. A lot of people grab their pen and paper. It's 1-800-919-9835. 1-800-919-9835, and I'll give it again before the end of the show. Let's go next to, I think, is it Sylvian? Are you there, Sylvian?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
Well, let me see. Yes, I am. I'm sorry.
What's your question? Go ahead and just talk to us on the phone.
Okay, my question is, my sister and I'm almost 70, and I've been on Social Security for almost 10 years, and she just recently started going on Social Security. We have the identical same number, except for the last number on, the Social Security number. And she received her stimulus over 3 weeks ago, and
a friend of mine is helping me to check on the phone every once in a while to see what the problem is, and it just says on the internet insufficient or not enough information or something like that. But the Social Security office has had my checking account number now for 10 years, and that's how I get my funds. And so I was just wondering what could be the problem.
Okay, yeah.
I've done everything correctly.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Go ahead, Dr. Friday. Yeah.
Well, I think I was going to ask the question you always do, Nick. First, did her sister or anyone claim her as a dependent?
Yeah. Has anyone, as far as you know, claimed you as a dependent on their taxes?
Well, the only thing that I can think of is my son. When I applied for Social Security many years ago because I have brain cancer, he put his name as my caregiver, kind of not caregiver, but his name in order to take care of my finances. Which actually I've paid my own rent. I don't even make $9,000 a year. So.
Well, that would be maybe then power of attorney or something like that. But
that's what that would have been.
If he didn't claim her on his tax return, then that would not be it. But I mean, that's a fair question. So what do you think it could be? Could it have something to do with her number being so close to her sister's? I mean. Well,
my brother and I are the same way. Actually, we're a year apart, but our Social Security number is one digit different. I don't think that should have any bearing on it. It's just when the parents got the Social Security numbers in a row there. But I would also say in many of these cases, sometimes, keep in mind, you don't always know who's claiming you as a dependent. It's not like you have to sign a tax return. If your children know you're not, not filing taxes, there is the possibility that they're listing you as a dependent. I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm not, I'm just bringing up to the point that I'm thinking we're going to find out as time goes on that some of these situations where people were claiming their parents, which not saying there was anything wrong with it, but the parents may not know they were being claimed because, again, it's not like something they would have to sign off on a tax return. So it's possible that her son may have been claiming her, knowing that she only makes $9,000 a year or less in Social Security. And, some of these people we'll find out in the long run. But I do wonder if that's going to be coming out in the conversation as we find out more and more why people didn't qualify.
Yep, interesting. All right, a couple questions here on Facebook to hit you up on. Again, the self-employed, and I know there were some things put in place for the self-employed with regard to unemployment. You just want to touch a bit on that? I'm not sure how briefed you are on some of the latest there.
Right. So you do have to be self-employed, but you also have to be receiving 1099s, and you have to be able to provide 1099 income to qualify for unemployment. So a landscaper or someone that just does their own business isn't going to qualify for self-employment. What they're really looking for, in my personal opinion, is misclassified people or people that work for one or two companies as a driver or something and receive a 1099. That's what they're looking for unemployment, and so those are the people, and you'll get in line with all these others. So it's not going to be a fast fix, but you would qualify under the current tax laws.
Okay, and this other question, are they stopping the government payment on unemployment? As we know, in Tennessee or across the country, it's $600 extra, which is a lot of money, really a nice supplement. That ends, is it the end of July, middle of July? End of June.
My understanding it's the end of June.
End of June, okay.
End of June is what I've heard. Now, there could be an extension put on it. I think there should be a reconsideration. I'm not saying that it's not nice, but the fact is we really do need to encourage people to go back to work. And if you're getting $700 or $800 a week in unemployment, it makes it less enthusiastic to go to the office.
I think you're probably right. When you say reconsideration, you mean not extending it. I mean, you think it's going to go till the end of June for sure. Are you saying they may
going to go to the end of June? They may reduce it. Maybe they'll still leave some in there, like $300 or something, to try to get, because there are some industries that haven't opened. So I think they're going to go back to specific industries, bartenders, amusement park people, people working conventions, right? These are industries that have not, and not even talking about when they will open.
Okay, yeah. But by and large, most of that, if you're thinking about it, is going to go away. The state unemployment will still be there, but as I've always said, I think Tennessee's paltry when it comes to unemployment. The max you can get in Tennessee is $275 a week. Which
so you want to go back to work, don't you?
Yeah, then you do.
You don't want to try to live off $275.
Yeah, $275. But the $600 from the federal government will likely go away for most everyone on June 30th. Let's go next to Melissa. Melissa, good morning. What's your question, Melissa?
Hi, good morning. I have a question regarding the stimulus that was intercepted from a child's parent for child support. Just wondering on the other end, when will the receiving parent be getting that? Because he has already gotten the letter that, it was taken for child support. Just wondering when, I'll be receiving that.
That's a wonderful question, and I can honestly tell you I have several cases, and so far we haven't really received any direct answer. We're seeing letters coming saying your money's been deferred to your back child support, but we don't know if the money's actually hit the accounts. And then from that point, since the courts aren't open, who's moving the money to the beneficiaries or the parents that have lasted without that money for a period of time? I'm not sure. It's a great question, and we are working on that for a couple clients. So as I get more information, I'll pass it on to Nick so he can help you a little bit more on that one. But at the moment, I'm not sure how the money's getting moved.
But we understand it's supposed to get to them. That's the whole idea. If you own back child support, you don't get the stimulus. They're going to take it and they're going to move it toward the parent who has the child that is owed the money. Anita has this question. She says, my son got dismissed from his job in February before this virus really exploded, and he's been filing for unemployment ever since. He got the stimulus check, but nothing from unemployment. And so I guess that's, nothing. I don't know if she means she hasn't gotten anything from unemployment or he didn't get the federal bonus. But if he's receiving, shouldn't he get them both?
Well, he should get, I'm not too sure. I mean, bottom line is when she says dismissed, why was he dismissed? Was he qualified for unemployment? It doesn't, from what I'm reading between the lines a little bit, if he hasn't received any since February, my guess is that it's either under review or he's going to have to prove more information to qualify. Because again, guys, unemployment isn't just for everyone. You felt scared at work and you decided not to go in and you kind of quit because you felt that there was a fear factor at that point, especially during some of those causes, because you put fired or quit. That puts you on the fact that you don't really qualify. So you may need to reevaluate what you filled in for your unemployment to see if you really do qualify.
Okay, yeah, she said dismissed. And again, if he was laid off because of just company cutbacks, would qualify. If he was dismissed, which to me, can go both ways because for whatever reason, he wasn't getting the job done and he was dismissed, then that would be a different story. But if it was for no fault of his own, I would think he should qualify.
No,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's just the word kind of leaves you wondering why he was dismissed, and if it was on just because it may be under review. Well, that's different.
Keep in mind, if it's under review and he does get it, he should get the back pay, as we've said all along, on his unemployment. Nicole's asking, do we have to call in to get all the questions addressed? And well, you can call in here and we'll try to address them as best as we can, and we have a lot of questions. But as I said, you can call that IRS number, but of course you don't have to do that. You can also go online and check at irs.gov if those are the kind of questions you have, and punch in your info and see what it tells you there, though I know a lot of people there run into a roadblock.
They are updating the questions all the time on the irs.gov as well. So some of the questions you're asking, or maybe you haven't, not everyone wants to call into a show. You can go to irs.gov and click on most asked questions, and they have about, 50 or 60 of them in there now where they're trying to address these same questions.
Gotcha. Listen, we need to take a break on that note and continue with your questions and comments. We're going to try to get to as many. If some people are upset we can't get to your question, I may have missed it or we haven't gotten it through, but we have literally thousands of people coming in right now with us. This is a little sample maybe of kind of what the IRS on a very small scale and unemployment's dealing with. And you want to help everyone, and we're going to do our very best. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll get some more with you and Dr. Friday right after this.